Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We have started uploading lectures on the bacterial infections of the oral cavity, which is a very important topic in oral pathology. Today's lecture is on two topics, that is melioidosis and tetanus. So starting with melioidosis. Melioidosis is a specific infection in man and animals caused by Bacillus Burkholderia pseudomyeli. So you should remember the name of the causative organism, that is Burkholderia pseudomyeli. It is an aerobic gram-negative organism which is non-acid fast and it is rod shaped. This disease is an endemic in certain areas of the Southeast Asian countries. Military operations in the Southeast Asian countries have spread this infection to US. Now, the clinical features of melioidosis. There are two recognized forms of melioidosis, the acute and the chronic form. In the acute form, there is high fever, there is acute pulmonary or lung infection, the patient suffers from diarrhea and there may be hemoptysis. There is sometimes widespread visceral involvement with hematogenous dissemination causing septicemia, which may ultimately lead to death. So acute form is the most severe form, while the chronic form appears in patients who have survived the acute form. The chronic form is granulomatous type. There are multiple small non-specific abscesses which occur subcutaneously or in the viscera, in the lymph nodes or the bones. There is development of draining sinus tracts in those areas, and these may involve the cervicofacial area and mimic a fungal infection or tuberculosis. Sorry for the interruption. The most important risk factor for melioidosis is diabetes mellitus. The other risk factors are thalassemia and kidney disease. So remember, the most important risk factor for melioidosis is diabetes mellitus. This question is asked in your MCQs. Now, the mode of transmission is not from man to man and it is not from animal to man, but the causative organisms survive in the soil and stagnant water, and they enter into the body of man or animal through skin abrasions. The diagnosis of melioidosis is through bacterial culture. The swab may be taken from the throat. Treatment is incision and drainage with massive antibiotic therapy. The drug of choice of melioidosis is tetracycline and chloramphenicol. Now, the next important topic for today's lecture is the tetanus, which is also called as the lockjaw. This is another important topic. Now, we will study tetanus under the following subheadings: introduction, epidemiology, pathogenesis, clinical features, and the treatment part. Coming to the introduction, tetanus is an acute infection of the nervous system and it is characterized by intense motor neuron activity which results into severe muscle spasm. So muscle spasm is the characteristic feature of tetanus. Now, the exotoxins are released by the Clostridium tetani. This Clostridium tetani is the causative organism for tetanus. The exotoxins which are released by this Clostridium tetani causes tetanus. This Clostridium tetani is an anaerobic bacilli and it is gram positive and it is commonly found in the GI tract and in the soil. Now, this exotoxin, it acts at the synapse of interneuron inhibitory pathway and motor neurons to produce blockade of spinal inhibition. Now, the epidemiology, it is rare in developed countries and it mostly occurs in non-immunized or partially immunized individuals. The predisposing factors are rural areas, warm climates, and summer. Males are affected more than the females. Any laceration or abrasion may cause the organism to enter into the body. Then it may be acquired through any farming activity, and it is associated with burns, frostbite, middle ear infection, surgery, or abortion and childbirth. Now, neonatal tetanus is fatal and it has a mortality rate of 80 to 90%. It occurs mostly in Asia because of four important reasons. In newborns, if unsterile instrument is used to cut the cord, it may result in neonatal tetanus. Children suffering from otorrhea. In women, when using unsterile technique for handling the genitals. And any acute trauma may also lead to tetanus. Now the pathogenesis. Under suitable anaerobic conditions with low oxidation reduction potential, spores of Clostridium tetani, they germinate and produce a potent neurotoxin which is also called as tetanospasmin. Now, this neurotoxin or tetanospasmin, it binds to the peripheral motor nerve terminal and enters the axon and the cell body. And it enter into the brain stem and the spinal cord by retrograde intraneuronal transport. The toxins, they migrate across the synapse and block the release of glycine and GABA, and thereby reducing the inhibitory effect, and the final result is rigidity. So this pathogenesis of tetanus you should know by heart. So I have given this in a simplified flow sheet. So watch this part of the lecture repeatedly so that you will never forget it. Now the clinical features, the incubation period of Clostridium tetani is 3 days to 4 weeks, and it may vary depending upon the dormant spores. Generalized tetanus is characterized by lockjaw or trismus due to spasm of the masseter muscle. There may be dysphagia, stiffness or pain in the neck, shoulder, back and chest. There may be laryngeal spasm, rigid abdomen and stiff proximal limb. There may be contraction of the facial muscle producing the characteristic grimace or sneer, which is called as risus sardonicus. So contraction of the facial muscles in tetanus is called as risus sardonicus. So here you can see this individual suffering from contraction of the facial muscles or risus sardonicus. The contraction of the muscles of the back results in an arched shaped back, and this phenomenon is called as opisthotonus. So remember what is opisthotonus and remember what is risus sardonicus. So here you can see this child having an arched shaped back, characteristic of tetanus, opisthotonus. Not risus sardonicus but opisthotonus. Now local form of tetanus manifests as spasm of muscles nearby the wound. Cephalic tetanus is characterized by trismus and facial palsy, and this cephalic tetanus is very rare. Now local tetanus may occur due to acute oral infection, trauma, temporomandibular joint dysfunction or hysteria. Treatment of tetanus, general measures is removal of the spores, cleaning of the wound, prevent toxin production, neutralize the unbound toxin and prevent muscular spasm. Cardiopulmonary monitoring is important. Then sedation, airway and nutrition should also be maintained. The antibiotics used are penicillin, metronidazole, clindamycin and erythromycin. The antitoxin is injected to neutralize the circulating toxins. Human tetanus immunoglobulin 3000 to 6000 units IM is given as the doses for individuals. Prophylaxis is proper wound debridement and a booster dose of tetanus. Now, the unimmunized individuals, the anti-tetanus serum of 1500 units or TIG 250 units should be given. Now, let's summarize today's lecture. Melioidosis, you should remember the causative organism, Burkholderia pseudomeli, the two forms, the acute form and the chronic form, and the predisposing important factor is diabetes mellitus. Now, the tetanus, the causative organism, Clostridium tetani. You should remember the pathogenesis of tetanus, which I have shown you in a simplified flow sheet. Now, it is also called as lockjaw. There is characteristic spasm of the masseter muscle. Now, two important features here, the rhizus sardonicus and opisthotonus, and you should also remember the treatment of tetanus. Now, the next lecture will be on syphilis. That's all for now. Happy studying.